Hi there, I'm Stephanie Carmody. If you're in midlife and quietly wondering what's next, you're not alone. This podcast is a space for honest conversations about starting over, finding yourself again, and creating a life that actually feels like yours. We talk about faith, healing, identity, and everything in between. Just real life and what it looks like to begin again. Welcome to Second Act Sessions. I'm so excited to share this conversation today with my friend, Ashley Poisella. Ashley and I first met years ago through the wedding industry, and reconnecting now in this season of life has been such a gift. She's an incredibly talented photographer, a life coach, and someone who genuinely loves helping people see the beauty and purpose in their own stories. Together, we're having an honest conversation about something so many Christians wrestle with: fear and anxiety. There's often this unspoken belief that if our faith is strong enough, we shouldn't struggle with anxiety. But the reality is, many faithful believers do, myself included. Ashley and I share pieces of our own journeys, talk about the stigma that can surround mental health in Christian circles, and discuss what it looks like to keep trusting God even when fear shows up. My hope is that wherever you are today, this conversation reminds you that you're not alone, that your struggles don't define your faith, and that God is present with you through every season. So let's jump into my conversation with my good friend, Ashley. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited to have my next guest, Ashley Poisella. So I want to just preface this by saying you and I met years ago when we were both in the wedding industry. As an event planner, we still to this day don't know. Did we work together? Did I just meet you with a client? It's a long time ago, probably almost close to 10 years, I feel like.
At least. Probably more.
Maybe more. Yeah. So anyway, so it's so great to see you again.
It's good to see
thank you for
you.
driving up here.
Of course.
And I'm just so glad. As I was mentioning earlier to Ashley, I've seen in my life how, we'll get into how, what we want to talk about today, but I just think it's great that you reached out to me on email because you had seen one of my podcast episodes. And if you wouldn't mind, just explain sort of the gist of your email, because that's how we got here today. And I think it's great how what I'm seeing is, for me, God has taken a lot of friends out of my life, but at the same time, he's brought back so many wonderful, godly women into my life. And like I said, I feel like you and I connected years ago through the wedding industry, and I knew you were a woman of faith as well. And so I always loved that. And then obviously life gets busy. You're married with 2 wonderful children, and I was married with no children. So I think also, and you're also like over an hour away from me. So thank you for reaching out, and I'm so glad to have you here
Of course. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's interesting, the timing of everything, because I had felt like God was kind of putting it on my heart that I needed to share my story more and what he's done. I've spoken to different churches and different groups and stuff like that. My story's been part of a sermon at church before, but I was like, okay, Lord, just show me kind of where it is you want me to be sharing more. And I literally saw your podcast, and I was like, okay, and I waited. I did not email that day.
Okay.
And it just was like this prompting. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to reach out to her and just see if my journey and struggle with anxiety, and kind of the shame and fear that's come along with that is something that, you'd be open to discussing. So,
yes.
Yeah. So here we are.
Here we are. But it was so lovely because I think you have responded to the solo episode I had done, which was only one, mind you, because for me, that was hard, putting myself out there in front of the camera and talking about fear and anxiety, which is something I've realized I've had my entire life, and I didn't know what it was until just a few years ago. I didn't understand what anxiety was. I just thought that's how it was wired. So I would love for you, because here we are talking about second acts, and I think in your email you had said your second act really began earlier in life, in your 20s.
Yep.
So if you would take us back to that time frame in your life and what happened.
Gosh, I know it's crazy. I think back at that time, and it literally seems like a lifetime ago. I was one of those kids that, even from when I was little, but teenager, in college, I was a perfectionist. Yep. I still am, to an extent. I wanted to control things. And I think, like you said, I always kind of had this tendency to be anxious. But I just figured it was like you said, part of who I was. I set out in college I had this plan for my life, right? I wanted to go into advertising. I wanted to get straight A's. I wanted to go to this college and then go into advertising and get married at some point, have kids. I just had this whole thing planned out.
Correct.
Yes, exactly. Stuff had happened in my childhood, I think, that really only perpetuated me wanting to control as much as I could and be prepared. My parents got divorced when I was young. And so I just like tried to control everything I could. And mostly it was like grades, performance, at work, all that sort of thing. So fast forward to, I graduated school. Of course, I got into advertising and I was doing exactly what I had set out to do. I was traveling across the country, around the world with this company. It was a high stress environment, but I liked it, but it was like, it fed into my stress and anxiety that I already had.
Right. And now I know that industry because I was in public relations.
Oh, that's right.
Advertising and PR are very similar. It's a very fast-paced business.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes. And so I, was doing what like I said, like I had set out to do. And along the way, I had met an amazing guy, my husband, Chris. And after I graduated, I was living in New York City, working in the agency, and met Chris. And I just felt like my anxiety started getting like, not because I met Chris. I mean, it's not like, I just felt like it was the same time frame. Like I felt like my anxiety was starting to grow, and I was starting to just have like physical ramifications of my anxiety. So I was having heart palpitations. I was like having sweats. Like it was this thing where I was just like, okay, now my anxiety is starting to grow. Right. And stuff started happening in my life. So over the next, I'd say, year, I got engaged to Chris, and my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I was traveling from the city back to Connecticut to kind of care for her because my stepdad actually has MS and he's in a wheelchair. So he wasn't able to kind of care for her. So I was at this point in my life where I was starting to feel so out of control of the stuff that was going on. I couldn't control that my marriage was going to be perfect to Chris. And that was something that I had experienced, one that kind of fell apart with my parents. Right, I couldn't control that my mom was going to survive this breast cancer. There was so many elements that felt so out of my control, and that didn't sit well with me. So it got to the point where I was having such, I didn't know it at the time, but I was having panic attacks regularly. I'd get them at work. I'd get them before work, on the way home, at home. Nights were the worst because it's quiet and you can sit with your thoughts and everything starts playing, all the what ifs. And it got to the point where I was having trouble going to work. I was calling off. I couldn't get out of bed. And for me, part of the panic attacks was like full body shaking. Like I could not stop shaking. And I would just be holding on like, dear Lord, make this stop. Like, what is going on? I went to doctors in New York because I didn't know what a panic attack was.
Well, this
like,
was also like 20 plus years ago, right?
Yeah.
Roughly. And
people didn't talk about it back then.
They didn't. They
right?
really didn't. That word, even anxiety or panic attack, wasn't discussed.
It was like, everyone has stress in their lives. And I'm like, but this feels different. Like, this is like
not helping.
Right. So I went to doctors. They all were like, you're healthy. Like everything seems fine. And I was like, everything is not fine. Like I am not okay. So it culminated to finally a day where I just said, I can't do this anymore. And I told Chris I was moving back to Connecticut, and I told my job I needed a long-term leave of absence. I broke the lease on my apartment and I moved back with my parents, and everything that I had built was now just kind of like up in the air. Right. And I felt so lost and alone and like purposeless. Like I had no idea what I was doing. Wow. I felt so out of control. I couldn't even control my body. Like I couldn't even be like, we're getting out of bed. Like I couldn't stop the shaking. I was so out of control.
It was almost as if your body was betraying you as well. In a lot of ways, and you weren't able to control that. Yeah.
It was so scary. I bless my parents and Chris. Chris was like, I'll find an apartment in Connecticut and I'll come closer when I can. Like, we're just trying to coordinate all that. And my parents were like, we don't know what to do. You're welcome to stay here, but like, are you ever going to go back to work? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, everyone, I think, and me included, was so used to me having this perfect, controlled life that now it was like the exact opposite. And nothing was certain. So during this time, I met with a counselor who, her name is Mary, and God totally sent her at the perfect time. And it was like through a friend that I was connected with her because she was hard to get in to see. And I met with her and she was like, "You're okay." She's like, you have anxiety. And I'm like, "No, but you don't understand." Like, she goes, "Those are panic attacks." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "You're going to be okay. And we're going to work through this." And I was like, "Okay. All right." Like, okay. Oh my gosh. She shared about like her experiences with panic attacks. I had never heard, no one had ever talked to me about this before. And I was like,
what you're saying.
I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. Like this is like I'm physically, she goes, "Yeah, you're physically feeling your anxiety."
Exactly.
And so I will never forget, she said, "You are living in focusing on what if." And she's like, "You're so focused, you don't even know what is anymore. You're so focused on the fear and it's consuming you." And it
You're
was.
worried about the future.
Absolutely.
You can't control. And
Right.
they say when you worry about the future or have fear for the future, that's what causes anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
Depression, I think, is when you look back to the past.
Yep.
That's what depression is.
Yep.
And anxiety and fear is all about the future. Which
Yep.
is hard not to feel that way. I mean, I know
So
I
hard.
feel like that every day. And
Yeah.
I try to like shove it down and
Yep.
not let it get the best of me. So I
Right.
digress.
Oh no, it's such a good point. There was one night in particular, I had a massive panic attack. I went in my parents' room. It was like, I don't even know, 11 o'clock at night. And my mom was like, trying to calm me down. It was, we literally just would have to ride it out because there was nothing we could do to kind of stop it. And after that, I went back to my room and I just surrendered everything to Christ. And I just said, "Lord, I can't do this anymore. Like I have nothing left. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going on with me physically. I don't know anything, but I know you. I know who you are. I know the truth of who you say I am. And so I need to focus on that." And it was like this, it sounds so cliche, but truthfully, I felt this like burden come off of my chest. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just felt relief for the first time in what felt like a year.
Yeah.
And I said, "I've done it my way so long. I want you to be in control. I don't want the pressure of being in control and creating this perfectionism and like worrying about everything. I can't anymore. I tried.
It's killing you.
It's literally.
It's like rejecting it.
Yes, I can't. Yeah. And so I just said, just day by day, just show me what it is you have for me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but just show me. So I was home for I think it was like 3 months living at my parents. And, sweet Chris, bless his heart. He was like, "So like, what do you think you want to do next?" I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, let's like, what do you like? Like, let's go back to when you were a kid. Like, what did you like doing when you were a kid?" I was like, "Well, I'd always have disposable cameras and like I would love taking pictures of stuff." And he's like, why don't you start taking pictures again?" Right. So he bought me a digital camera. I didn't have one. And he's like, "While you're home, you have all this free time. Why don't you figure out like how to use this camera?" Right. So I was like, okay. So I was like taking pictures outside my parents' yard of like flowers and like different things. And I just felt like there was like something there. Like I felt like I was connecting to something that was like good and just felt right. And I was like, I'm just going to lean into this. And so I ended up returning to work back in Connecticut. They transferred me per a request, which was great. Yeah. They had an office there. And I was just like praying, like, "Lord, if this photography is the direction that you have for me, like just keep leading me and keep guiding me and opening those doors." Right. And Chris was like, "How about we reach out to our wedding photographer and see if you can second shoot with them or something?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know about that. Like I just started to learn how to use my camera." And he's like,
Baby
"Well,
steps,
yeah."
baby.
He's like, "You could like third shoot with them or just go and carry their bags and stuff." And I was like, "Okay." So I ended up doing that and I just loved it. I loved it. And I was like, maybe there's something here. Maybe I could start a photography business. So fast forward, during like my lunch breaks at night, I was growing Ashley Therese Photography and kind of building it out. And I was doing different sessions on my own. And the first full year that I was in business, I photographed 42 weddings, which is like unheard of.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
100% God. Like
Wow.
I still to this day, I get goosebumps when I think about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I went from nothing, like second shooting and doing these sessions to having a full season. And I was like, I think it's important to note, my anxiety did not go away completely. There was still, my panic attacks lessened for sure, but I would still feel like every now and then my anxiety would creep up again. So it was still something I, over the years and still now, like have to be aware of.
Yes.
But God just blew open the doors of what I had thought I had planned for my life and created his calling for my life and his plan was so much greater literally than what I could have imagined. I was doing work that I loved. I was getting to pour into people and be with people. And Chris ended up being my second shooter years later.
That's what I wanted to know, because I know he also was doing photography with you, especially when we met.
he
Is
was
background in photography?
No,
Okay,
I had hired 2 other shooters at one point that were with me. And then Chris was like, I feel like I don't get to see you on the weekends. And I enjoy photography. I'm like, you want to be a third shooter? Like, come on over. So he started coming and assisting. And then eventually he started out shooting my other photographers. And I was like, your work is so good. Wow. He's like, well, you're analyzing it after each wedding and you're, so he's like, what if we did this together? We could, and he was like, all right. So it's so funny when people ask me like, how did you get into photography? I'm like, it's a long story. Like, do you want the short version or like the?
But it's because of your husband. Like,
he was such a critical point, but I wouldn't have gotten into photography 100% if it wasn't for my anxiety. And I know that God used my anxiety to pull me closer to him. And I know that God our circumstances are important to him. Like he cares for what we're going through and whatnot, but he cares more about capturing our hearts. And that's exactly what he did. He showed such a great love and mercy and grace for me that he allowed me to get to such a broken place that he redirected my life into what his plan and his calling was for my life. And I always joke, like, nothing would have gotten my attention the way that my anxiety did at that point in my life. Nothing. I was driving along in the car of my life, and Jesus was in the back seat. So that's the other thing. Jesus was still part of my life during all this. I was going to church. I was praying. My mom was a youth minister all growing up. I grew up in the church, but he wasn't in the rightful place in my life. I was in the driver's seat and I was like, God, if you could just bless these plans that I have for myself, that would be great. But it wasn't until I gave over the steering wheel, got in the back seat and was like, whatever you have for me, that's what I want. Like, take the wheel. Yeah. So it was like, that e-brake was pulled real hard with the anxiety. And it was like, I'm grateful for it though, because I would have kept going down that path. And I don't even want to know where that would have gone because I know how low I was. So I'm grateful for my anxiety. I know it sounds crazy, but it was one of the greatest gifts that God has given me.
Right. Well, I think in the scripture, and I'm totally going to botch this verse, but where it says, God will use all things for good to those who love and believe in him and all that. Yeah. I do believe, as you mentioned, you did have a strong faith background. You are a believer and, before the photography and before all this you were, but I think it's that shift of really making Jesus the focal point of your life and putting him first.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, that changed my whole life as well. I'm like, in my head, I'm like agreeing with you because everything you went through is what I went through. Mine was, he brought me to my knees with my marriage. And I got on my hands and knees one day and I just said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. I said, thy will be done. I said, you handle it. I'm done. I said, I can't do this anymore. I have nothing left to give. And I got on my hands and knees and literally 2 weeks later, my ex came to me and said, I want a divorce. God used everything. He brought me to my knees to humble me and took me through, my valley for a while there. But as a result, look what I'm doing right now. If I hadn't gone through all that, I wouldn't have a podcast. So I believe everything happens for a reason and God will use everything to our benefit.
If we let him,
if we let him, absolutely.
If
we're open to receiving that and knowing that we really all we need is God, and a relationship with Jesus at the end of the day. Everything else he'll provide because he is our daily bread.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, you still deal with anxiety, as do I. Like I think the podcast episode that you're referring to was I had a panic attack from 2 a.m. to 4 in the morning. The shakes, the sweats, everything. And I guess the other question I have for you then is, as you're understanding your anxiety and how it impacts you, did you at any point, were you diagnosed with ADHD at all or ADD?
No.
Because I know for me, my anxiety stems from having that. And I was just curious as to if that may have been what was a cause or factor in yours.
I think like one of the things I was made so aware of is I needed to take captive my thought life. And I think that's so easier said than done. But, and I still like to this day, like when I start feeling my anxiety come up, I'm more aware, like, what am I thinking? What am I reflecting on? Like, what am I listening to? What is it? The enemy who's trying to speak lies and fear and,
most of the time it is. A lot of the time it is.
Or am I like reminding myself and being in scripture saying, this is who God is, this is who he says I am, and declaring that. But I think it's so easy for us to let our minds wander. And I think during that time, I was just struggling because I was just drowning in those thoughts of fear. And I wasn't redirecting them into what is instead of the what ifs. It's so, I think it's our natural tendency to just be fearful creatures.
Right. Well, it's our brain. Our brain is wired to like take care of fear.
Right.
What is it called? Fight or
flight. Yeah.
And like your brain protects you. Like so if you're gonna fall, your brain will protect you from like all of that in a way. But that brain is also annoying in a lot of times too, because you get these horrible thoughts that I think they say you have 3 thoughts. You always have your thoughts, God's thoughts, and the enemy's thoughts. And it's a matter of who are you listening to.
Right. And praying that God would align your thoughts with his. Like that is just continually because it's a daily battle.
Oh, it is. It's a daily battle for me. I wake up, I'm always like, I can feel great, and then something can change, and all of a sudden I can spiral really fast.
Right.
And I try to and I think to your point, you said, sometimes with anxiety, I think you just need to take a moment to take a stop, take a minute, think, like, okay, what is this thought? What am I really upset about? What's going on here? Because then as soon as you name it, and then you can address it, and then you realize just because it's a thought doesn't make it real.
Right. Doesn't make it true.
No.
So we want to focus on the truth.
Yes,
like, what is the truth?
absolutely.
And I think to what you said, stopping and saying like, what is that? And focusing on that. But it's hard.
Oh, it totally is. Because like I said, we're human and we're stuck in this earth, which is very challenging as a believer, as a woman of faith. And we're living very dark times right now. I see it. I also think a lot of this is a spiritual war that we're in 100% in the world. But I also think we have spiritual wars within ourselves and our own thoughts, because I do think it's like God and the devil battling in our brains sometimes. That's how, for me, I can sort of like understand it better and not give into the enemy's attacks and his negative thoughts, because he just wants to keep us stuck and miserable and far away from God and not living out our
right.
You know?
I think the enemy would have loved nothing more than for me to keep down that path.
Yes, absolutely.
And just be swallowed by fear and consumed by my own like selfish desires to control everything.
Absolutely. But I think too, like, that's so great that you finally found some help and someone who understood and could put a name to it, because like we said, growing up, no one talked about this. And so we're navigating it and like not even understanding what is happening to us. So I think it's great that you found the support. And then, like I said, I think God in a way brought you to your knees, and humbled you through that to get you closer to him, ultimately, to do like what he wants in your life.
I think it's also like a pride thing too, right? Like, who was I to think that I knew what was better for myself than God? Like, what was I thinking? Like, there's a saying, I have it written in the front of my Bible, God can do so much more with our surrender than he can with our control. Yes. And like, don't I know it? Because I tried to control and do everything, and I know where it got me. Yes. So yeah, it's just amazing to see like what he can do with our surrender.
Right. I agree. So that was back in your 20s. And so then you went full steam ahead into photography. I know your husband got on board. And how long did you guys do that together as a team? It was a while, wasn't it?
It was like 12, 13 years.
You were doing everything from weddings at the time to like...
Just mostly weddings and engagement sessions.
Initially.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
that's just so amazing. And
Yeah.
your work is beautiful.
Thank
by the
you.
way. Like, I mean, I loved seeing all your work.
Thanks.
Where are you right now today? Like, so I know you obviously are still doing photography, but you are no longer doing weddings.
No, not
So
anymore.
tell me about how that's, I guess, evolved for you, photography. And
Yeah.
what else you're
So
doing.
I've always made sure that it's important to keep praying for whatever God's will is. So if he wants us to continue to do weddings, if we need to pivot to something else. And so after COVID, we had kind of felt, Chris and I, there was like a stirring that maybe there was something that was shifting. And so we kind of felt like God was putting on our hearts that maybe it was time to kind of switch gears. So I shifted to doing, and my family and maternity and newborn session part of my business was growing.
Okay.
And so it just made sense. And I felt like it was the next step that God had, was to kind of switch to that portion and retire from weddings. So we do miss parts of it, but I know this is what we're supposed to be doing. So that's kind of where I am with my photography right now. And that's been for since COVID. So a few years now.
And is your husband actively doing photography with you still?
No,
Or
so
is
he retired completely.
He retired completely, okay.
Yep.
So he's doing something else now.
Yeah, so he's still working his full-time job, which he was doing the whole time anyway. So
I don't know how he was doing it.
I don't either. It was crazy, but he loved it. Like, we genuinely love it.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful. Like, I think I always tell my couples and these families, like, thank you for letting me photograph you. And they're always like, oh, you're welcome. I'm like, no, like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I'm so thankful to be doing this because of like just everything that I've been through and how God brought this to be. Like, there's this gratitude and a thankfulness that I feel like I can't even express without them thinking I'm weird. Thank you so much. You know,
I do too. I'm like, every day I have so much joy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, even if it's like reconnecting with you, or even if I'm so happy that I'm by myself now and I'm happier than I've ever been. Like, I could like jump up and down that I'm so grateful. Like,
Right.
I see Jesus's hand in my life through so many things, even within my family. I'm like, thank you. I'm gonna start crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you. You know, it's like so beautiful. Oh my God, I'm crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so wonderful to see that, you know, experience it, and then be able to share that. Which, you know, like, even just to talk to you about it or share it with our listeners. Like, I think God is alive, you know, he does exist for anyone who doesn't think that. And it's so beautiful to see him work in your life when you hear maybe other stories of everyone else. You're like, well, I don't know if that ever happened to me. And then when it does, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Right.
He delivered you from this and that, and offered you this, and it's so great. The one thing I do want to mention is, because I know you mentioned it, is like, as Christians, as believers, and we struggle with fear and anxiety and panic attacks.
Yep.
I know we've also briefly touched upon how other maybe Christians can look at it and say, well, how can you have that? How can you have anxiety? And you're supposed to be a Christian. And so I feel like there is some negative connotations for people who may not have it and may not understand that even as believers, we can still have human things that we have to deal with. So I'd love to kind of hear your experience with, you know, you don't have to get into specifics, but like navigating that. Have you had any conversations or even altercations with believers that have kind of made you uncomfortable, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly think like the person that was probably the most judgmental and the most critical was myself, honestly. Like, it was almost like I was like, why don't I have enough faith to not have anxiety? Why don't I have enough of God? Like, if it's like, faith is this quantifiable thing that if you reach it, then all this stuff goes away. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still human. And that's what I would say to anyone else in the church that might be, you know, judgmental of people that have anxiety or anything else. It's like, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean your sin disappears. It doesn't. You're, if anything, you're acknowledging even more your need for Christ and your sinful nature. And, you know, I think for me, I felt like there was this guilt and shame with having the anxiety. And I came to realize like that wasn't coming from Christ.
Right.
That wasn't the truth. That was the enemy again, trying to come in.
Into your head.
Right. Like, you are not believing it hard enough. Like, you don't have enough faith. That's not from God. No. That is from the enemy. Yes. And so again, it was like spending time in the Word and with Christ to really focus on like what is true. Right. But it's hard because I think, you know, part of our sinful nature is our default is to control and to be the sovereign of our own little mini kingdom. Yes. And that's what I was doing. Yeah. I was the queen of my little kingdom. And I like, God, like I said, Jesus was there, but not in the rightful place. Right. And, I think when I've talked to groups of people, and I'm thinking about this group of women, they kept asking me the same question over and over after I shared about my testimony, what God's done. And they said, but like, what was it? Like you had Jesus, like he was there. Like, how did you get to this low place? And I'm like, you can have Jesus there, but if you're not surrendering to him, ultimately you're still in control. Yes. And I said, I think it was the perfect storm of like these big events that were happening in my life that woke me up to that I was not in control. I was in control of anything, not the big things, the little things.
None of us are, though.
No.
But society wants you to think that you need to be in control.
100%.
So you're going against how we were raised in this world.
How we're wired, too.
Exactly. And also then, so walking like a real human existence, but then also having a spiritual relationship and existence. It's hard to, I guess, manage both sometimes.
Yeah.
We get so immersed in this world, right?
Right.
We get sucked into reality and pop culture and music and everything.
Yep.
That it makes it hard, but that's by design. I
Right.
think because the enemy rules the earth, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
And so I think for us, it's even harder. And as believers, we are going to get attacked, I think, more heavily. And we're going to have trials and tribulations. Everyone's going to have trials and tribulations in this world.
Yep.
It's just a matter of how you navigate it. And
Right.
with God at the forefront.
Yeah.
Right? And having a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah. It's I'm like gonna mess this up, but I think it's John 10:10. The second part of the verse talks that Jesus came that we would have life and have life to the fullest. And I don't think I fully understood what that meant. Yes. And it means walking with Christ. Yes. And that's having the fullest life. And I have experienced that firsthand and having those fruits of the Spirit that come with that. Yes. The patience, the peace that surpasses all understanding. Yeah, all of that. And like, that's what God wants for us. Yes. That's not what the world is preaching right now.
No, God,
that's not what they're selling.
And that's the juxtaposition. It is really hard to navigate, which is why I think it's so important to ground yourself and put on the full armor of God every day in this world. Yep. I find it even more so. Praying, reading the Bible. I only listen to my worship music all day. Yep. It's in my kitchen right now. It's in my car. And for me, I feel like I'm praising God the whole day. I'm taking him with me everywhere I go throughout the day. I talk to him all day like he's my friend.
That's amazing.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, sometimes I'm like, I don't hear you, Lord. But then sometimes when I ask the next day, I'll hear something. Yep. He talks to me in different ways, through social media, through people, through emails, through text messages. He's always talking. And I think it's a matter of paying attention to him calling you and speaking to you. And we get so busy with this world by design to keep you distracted and keep you further away from that relationship. Yeah, I think the enemy wants nothing more than for us to be distracted. 100%. I think that pulls us so much further away from Christ every single day. I mentioned the cell phones and social media to keep us looking down, not looking up, keep us so detached from not only him, but each other. Yeah. You know, it's just, world is just upside down right now compared to how we grew up, and we're semi close to age, but you know, we understand what our childhood looks like is nothing compared to what your children are experiencing right now. No. It's sad, but I think this world can also be part of what causes all this anxiety, right? We're overstimulated. Everything's like at your fingertips. So like even the news, I have to take breaks because I'm just like, it's hurting my brain sometimes. And I know it says to be in the world, not of the world. Yeah. But that is a daily battle too. Like that I struggle with, because I'm very involved in politics. And I want to know the truth. And part of me is like, but it doesn't matter. None of this really matters on earth. Like it's all in a lot of ways meaningless. Like what really matters is Jesus. Right. At the end of the day, and having a relationship with him and doing what I believe a kingdom work on heaven. Yeah. On earth, I mean. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. And obviously it sounds like that's exactly what you're trying to do as well. Photography and helping and sharing your story, because people need to know that just because we're believers, Christians, we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers, and we're still learning and growing in our faith. And I've heard pastors say, I don't know everything. Right. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Every time I read the Bible, I'm still learning something new. Yeah. So no one's experts. I think all we can do is our best. And, you know, for me, it's, like you said, surrender. Yeah. And I've done it so many times, but sometimes you're like, oh no, I'm really surrendering now. Like I'm really, really going to surrender. And then it really does. You do feel like a weight is lifted. Yeah. Like you can't describe it. It's hard to articulate. And I think it's like, yes, there was that definite night where I like re-surrendered my life. And, you know, I've been baptized and whatnot, but I think it's that daily surrender. Yes. And it's okay. Like we're not Jesus. Like we're not perfect. If we were, he wouldn't have needed to come. Exactly. So like, it's going to be needed. Right. So it's not,
I think it's important because, and I'm saying this because I'm saying it to myself too, just because we feel like we have to re-surrender doesn't mean we've somehow like failed.
And that's the other part. Like, do you feel like, and I think it's I'm really hard on myself. I beat
me too.
myself up. Like, I'm so evil. I'm not worthy.
But again, that's like not.
It's not at all coming from God. And that's where you have to really use your discernment to know whose thoughts are those. Those are not God.
Right.
So when I doubt and fear, all that doubt, fear, and worry, that's the enemy.
100%.
So once I identify it, it's like, I can drop it.
Yeah.
Like, let it go. Like, even for me, like, I worry that I'm single. I'm never going to meet somebody. I'm not going to have enough money to survive. You know, podcasts don't make a lot of money. And I'm just like, all that worry is always with me. And I'm trying to like let it go and say, God, I know you'll provide.
Yep.
I know you'll take care of me. You delivered me truly from evil. You provided for the past 3+ years. You're going to keep providing. But then sometimes it gets hard because you get discouraged. You're like, well, it's always God's time, not your time.
Yep.
So it's having patience and obedience, which is hard for me because it's like I don't listen to anybody.
Yeah.
Let alone, you know.
Yeah.
So have you experienced that as well? Like, obviously we talk about that in the daily, but like, it's hard.
It is hard. And I think I have to remind myself, like, Jesus gave it all on the cross, right? He withheld nothing back. And so I have to think and know the truth that he's not going to withhold anything back from us.
Right.
You know, and I think I will pray for certain things and it may not work out the way that I want, but I have to remember, again, it is God's will and not my will, and his timing and not mine. And God, in that waiting, and this is like, gosh, I know it. That's when God's doing his work, right?
Really?
It's that waiting period. It's so hard. I hate it.
It's like he's like sharpening you. He's
absolutely.
He's molding you. And it is I've been waiting for 3.5 years doing nothing but healing and waiting on the Lord. And I just kept hearing him say, be still, be still.
Yep.
And that's hard for me because I have the ADHD and I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And it's, for me, he like, shut it down.
Yeah.
But the waiting is really hard.
It's really hard.
But that's when you learn so much and you become close because Jesus wants you close to him.
He does.
And that's sometimes how he gets your attention.
Yeah. And that, you know, that verse, be still, the second part is, and know that I am God. Like, it's not just be still and wallow in your worry and fear and the what ifs, but it's, and know I am God. I am in control.
Yes.
Nothing surprises me. Like, our second acts weren't a surprise to God.
No,
like,
he knew all this.
He knew all this.
He knows exactly where you're headed, knows where I'm headed.
Right.
No, we don't know it.
Right.
We can't know it.
Right.
That's the whole
But there's
point.
comfort there, right? In knowing that he's in control and he's already there and he's already working.
Yes.
And so it's like aligning ourselves to say, God, just help me step in to whatever you're doing.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm
Whatever you
sure,
want for my life.
I'm sure you could probably look back at these years that you've been in the waiting and see how you're now at this place where now you can step into this podcast.
I'm a different person. Like even 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, every time like time passes, I'm like, I have grown and learned and evolved so much that you can see how I wasn't ready back then. I wasn't even ready to date. I wasn't ready to do a podcast. I had to build up my self-confidence. But I did that with people helping me, of course, that I felt God puts resources in your life, like your therapist. I guess the other question I have is also, when we say we surrender and we want God to handle it all, I struggle with, okay, but how much am I supposed to be doing to further that versus how much am I supposed to be waiting and letting him bring it? So then I struggle with, I just spent money on a PR person or whatever. And I'm like, I know I'm investing in my business, but then I'm like, am I doing too much on my own?
Right.
So then I feel like, how do you balance that? Like, have you experienced that where you start feeling like you're trying to take the reins, but you also, like, look, I know God's not going to drop off my person at my doorstep. As much as I know he could, the reality of that is I still have to put myself out there. So do I do online dating or do I just keep waiting on God? Do I reach out to this person to help me with speaking opportunities or do I just wait? So I feel like for me, that's what I struggle with. Do you, what are your thoughts on that in general? And have you struggled with that?
Yeah, I've definitely struggled with that.
Balance.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And my natural tendency, as we all know by now, is to take the reins and to just run with it. But
it's like you kind of have to. God helps those who help themselves. So then I'm just like, what is that balance?
Well, I think God doesn't call us to be still and trust him and sit at home and do nothing. Like he calls us to take action.
Yes.
So I I know that God does not always give wisdom and clarity. And I will pray for that constantly.
Yes.
But I know more often than not, that's not what I get. Sometimes we do have to take that step forward
Yes.
and then kind of keep praying like, Lord, is this aligned with what you have?
Yes.
Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And just keep taking steps forward. I mean, he gives us free will
Yes.
for a reason.
Yes.
You know, he wants us to, it's not like there's one calling, one option for our life. Like there are different options, different choices.
Right.
But we just have to make sure that he is the priority and he's leading the whole process.
Yes.
Which I think is hard. I think the times where I have questioned whether I'm taking the rein too much, I am. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I
So
think if I start questioning it, then, and I am like, oh, I wonder, like, is this what God has for me over and over? Then it may not be.
Right.
So I may need to like be praying about that a little bit more and being still. But I think that, yeah, God definitely calls us to take action and to move forward.
Yeah, and I also think he also calls us to do that with faith and knowing that he goes before us.
Yep.
And that he's empowering us to trust in him, to have that be bold and take chances. Even if you fail, I feel like you learn from that anyways. You know, you can learn from everything.
Yeah.
I learn from everything. Even if it's like online dating, which I'm really not doing. But even if I meet someone, it doesn't go well. Like, I've been on 3 dates.
Yeah.
3 dates. Christian totally blew me off and ghosted me the day of the actual date. So like, what kind of Christian are you? But okay, I digress. But like, even with that, it's like, you still have to like put a little effort in, obviously, but to the point, as long as it's aligned with what God wants for you, right? And
Like,
I think,
no, go ahead, keep going.
and I just think that was a good point. If you're already doubting it, then you should also be like, then maybe that's your signal, that's your answer.
Yeah, or at least pause and pray about, okay, Lord, like, what do you have? I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other week and he was interviewing for a bunch of different jobs and he was just saying like, I don't know like what I'm supposed to do next. Like I keep going all these interviews, I'm not sure. And it was like just praying for God's will and like all the doors were shutting. Like it was just shutting. And it was like, okay, like God is clearly directing kind of where this is going.
By shutting doors.
Right. So
that's your answer.
Even though this guy didn't show up, maybe it wasn't a bad thing.
I always think somebody, God's blocked you, it's for his protection.
Right.
So I always look at it that way too. I'm like, I don't have regrets because I've learned from everything, or God has shown me this or that. And, but I feel like it also you can grow from that too and learn more about yourself and your relationship with Jesus.
And it's praying about that, right? Like, Lord, in this like struggle, in this shut door, how can I grow to be more like you?
Right.
Like, what do you have for me in this? How can I draw closer to you? And kind of seeing like what he's doing. And sometimes we don't always see like how we're drawing closer to him. And maybe it is just spending more time in prayer and that quiet time with him.
Well, and I also think what I'm seeing right now is, especially for like women, like my friends who are believers, I really see God drawing all of them closer to him. Like I think that's why a lot of my friends who are believers are all single right now. I think God really wants your full attention right now. He wants all of us to be with him. Maybe because he's coming back soon. Who knows? We don't know the day or the hour, right? But at the same time, it's a common thread I'm seeing. And so that's, I'm like, you know what? All I want is to be with Jesus right now. And he'll bring me my person if and when to be with someone, you know, and I can't control that. Do I look every now and then? Yes, because you never know. If someone offers to set me up with someone, I'm not going to say no. Like I did a couple weeks ago. Total bomb. But I'm open to it. And I'm learning in the process. Like I'm also have no filter sometimes. I'm learning like, shut your mouth. Stop talking and shut your mouth. They're going to think you're batshit crazy. Like, that's who I am now. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm very authentic, maybe to a fault sometimes, but I also have no filters. You know, like you can learn from everything is my point, basically.
And God wants to be our first love.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And I think that that can so easily be lost because there's so many things that we can give our hearts to, right?
Or we can even make us like idols in a lot of ways. It could be, you know, even my podcast and getting views and how many views do I have? I can make that an idol.
Absolutely.
Every day I'm like, Lord, I don't care. I don't care. You're going to bring the right interviewers in and guests in and all that stuff because I cannot do it on my own, because if I try to control it, I will have another panic attack. And that was the last one I had back in April. And that was a big moment for me. And I think there's a lot of circumstances that went around that, which I think was also playing into yours because you have your stepfather, your mother, a really crazy career. I mean, no wonder you had anxiety, this crazy world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, your body's probably wired that way. Like that's just how you came out. You know, all of us have different nuances, right? And I think putting a name to it really does help and understanding it. Like for me, even when I found out my ex was a narcissist, the light bulb went on. It was like an aha moment of, okay, now I understand why our marriage was the way it was.
Right.
How this makes sense. And now I've learned from it. Now I can share that with other people to help other people.
Yeah, you had like a greater understanding.
Yeah, exactly. And I think same with you. Like now that you understand how you're wired, and now you can share that with other people to let people know, like, you're not alone. I experience this. I experience it. Like, so even just having you speak about this is so comforting because I'm like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
You know, like even as a believer.
Yeah.
Like, because I think we do beat ourselves up so much.
We do. And it's just, I think too, you know, to go back to what you're saying about, you know, you were caring about how many likes and follows and all like that. And I get wrapped in that also. It's like, I also find that I have to be like, okay, I do care, even though I try and deny it. I'm like, oh, I don't care. I know it's not important, whatever. Like, I have to just say, like, Lord, change the posture of my heart so that is not what I'm focusing on.
Right.
Like, I want to just trust you. Help me trust you. And that is like another thing I think it's really important is like, you know, during that really hard time, it's not like I surrendered everything to God and I immediately started trusting him. Yeah. It was like I still wanted to control things, but I was like, help me to trust you.
Right.
And then I remember I would say, God, I trust you. God, I trust you. God, and I still do this, even in moments where I don't, because it builds that, like your heart will change to be trusting him.
Also through repetition too.
Yes.
You need it sometimes.
Yes. And it's like speaking that truth over yourself, like of what you want is so important. So I think that's important to note because I think some people are like, okay, how do I just say like, okay, I'm going to trust God. And then it just switches. It's not like that. It's a process.
Yes, it is a process.
So yeah, I think that was just something you said. I think it's just important to note that it's not like, one day you can be like, oh, I don't care about any of this stuff.
Gone.
Like,
it's gone.
Right.
Gone.
Right. I'm not going to worry about like who's going to come into my life, the podcast, whatever. Like I don't worry about that anymore. Like I think it goes this like back and forth and it's a process where you just trust more and more and more as you grow closer to, you know, to Christ.
And that's also for me is for me, like, I think to you were raised in the faith, if I'm not mistaken, for majority of your life, as was I.
Yep.
But I think like many of us, we kind of ebbs and flows of closeness. I got sucked into the world and I wasn't as close, even though I was still going to church and then I was married and my focal point became my ex.
Right.
It was all about him and he was agnostic, which should have been a red flag.
Right.
But the point being that like I see in this world how we can get pulled so far from God, right?
Yeah.
And sucked into this world. And then I think what he did for me and for you was bring us right back.
Yeah, praise God.
Using our experiences. For me, it was divorce and anxiety. For you, it was the anxiety and dealing with all of that. But either way, he's going to get you. That's what I always say. He's going to get you and come back for you.
Yeah.
He never left. We just weren't drawing close to him.
Right. I mean, God is always pursuing us. He never stops in his pursuit.
Yes.
And that's such an amazing, beautiful truth to hold on to. And I think too, you know, growing up in the faith, at some point, the faith has to become your own.
Yes.
You know, like that's like my prayer for my kids. Like I can talk to them about my faith and who Jesus is and bring them to church and Bible study and all that. Yep. But at some point,
they're on their own journey.
Yeah. Like it's their own journey. And I want nothing more than for them to have Jesus Christ as their savior and for them to live and glorify him through their life. Like that is what I want. Yep. So I think like you said, you and I growing up with the faith, like at some point it became our own, you know, on a whole different level.
Yes.
But thank goodness we had that foundation. From our parents of, you know, when we were younger.
Yeah, because I think and my mother always said, doesn't matter, like as long as you raise your children up right with God in their life, even if they stray, they will always come back, you know, like 9 times out of 10 or whatever.
I hope so.
they do, because I think you're setting that foundation, you know, and look at me, like I was raised in the faith and I may have strayed, not that I ever didn't believe in God or have a relationship or not pray, but definitely not where he needed to be in my life. He was number 10.
Yep.
right? My husband, this, that, everyone else came before him. And now he's number one.
Yep.
And that's how I'm seeing everything in my life change. I'm blessed with friends coming back in or resources coming to me to help me with my podcast. You know, finding the right producer and the right social media person and a PR person. And like, you know, again, like I looked for them, but I know that's what my business needed. So I'm investing in that. But at the same time, I do feel like all the people I'm working with, they're all faith-based. Wasn't that funny?
Yeah.
So that's how I know too, that it is right. You know, like everyone I've met, my book editor, she's a believer. And we talk about faith all the time. So then I'm like, I just see how God is planting all like-minded women around me, primarily women right now.
Yep.
So that's such a blessing. So then I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, because again, I'm a single, you know, woman navigating my second act, and it is scary and frightening, but I know that, like I said, God goes before me, and I'm okay. I'm going to be okay, and
Absolutely.
we're not alone in this life, and thank God we have each other, and, you know, like, I think that's a blessing, because I think so many people out there are really struggling right now, and are just, they don't know what is the truth.
Yeah.
And that came to me one night where I got stuck in New Age spirituality.
Okay.
But again, I was like, God uses all things. I think he had me go through that so that I can talk about it and kind of steer people away from that if that's kind of what you're grappling with.
Yeah.
But so I went through that too. God, another long story. I just think that like everything happens for a reason, and we can, you know, he'll use everything for good if we love him and, you know, believe in him and all that. And that's just how I try to live my life. But to your point, it is a daily struggle. Like it really is. He is our daily bread for a reason.
Yeah.
We need it daily.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard navigating life. You
Oh
know?
my gosh, yes.
No matter what you're doing or what you're going through. Oh, I know. But my point being that like when God was really trying to get a hold of me. It was a bunch of things happened at once. I was watching The Chosen. I was really involved in all those storms that were coming through Northern Carolina and Florida.
Okay.
And all of that. And I came across this pastor, Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. And all that happened within the same week. And God used this pastor to smack me in the face, literally on social media when he was talking about tarot cards and witchcraft. It's demonic. He's yelling, it's demonic, and smacked me in the face. And as soon as I saw that clip, the first thing that came to mind, because I was always searching for the truth. I'm like, what is really the truth? Is this real? Is that real? Not that God wasn't real, but it was just like merging New Age and all this stuff,
Got murky.
Christianity and all this stuff. And at one point, as soon as I heard that, I said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. That verse came right into my head instantly. And I was like, that's my answer. He is the truth. So no matter what is happening in this world, he is my truth. He is my North Star. And so everything else can fade away. We can never really know what's going on in this world. It's good versus evil. But at least if I keep my eyes focused on Jesus, that is my truth. And that is what keeps me sane, you know?
So how do you do that? Like, how do you stay, like, keep him like focus as your priority and your North Star?
Honestly, it's probably, for me, I'm very musically inclined. I just put my worship music on every day. When I'm doing my hair and makeup, I just crank it and I blast it, and I literally have like little mini worship sessions, and I'm just praising him throughout the day. And that's, for me, a reminder of always keeping him first. For
Absolutely.
me, you know, because reading, I'm not great with reading. My ADHD, I don't love to sit down and read. So reading the Bible is like hard for me, but I force myself to do it. I always pray and say, Lord, please show me what you want me to see or take out of this chapter, book, what have you. And so I do it, and I always feel better, you know, but for me, I'm also so grateful for delivering me from where I was. That is how I'm so grateful and appreciative and just so thankful. So every day I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. Because without him, I don't know where I'd be.
Right.
I literally don't know where I'd be. I was so low. My spirit was broken. It was so hard. And then climbing out of that, having to build my self-confidence up. I was a shell of my former self, a shell. Didn't even recognize myself. And so now that I'm doing this, like even speaking to people is very healing for me. Writing my book is healing. You know, reading the Bible is certainly healing on so many levels. And having God place different women in my life who are believers is so beautiful. So I'm just so appreciative every day. And like, I was so like appreciative to get your email. Day after day, I just put one foot in front of the other.
You're being obedient in what God's called you to do.
I am.
And trusting him that he's going to do the rest.
And
like,
he put this on my heart years ago, but I just knew I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't strong enough. Like but I see all the little things he's done to prepare me. It's like, they're just too many to even name, but he works in such miraculous ways. And I see it in my own life, and it's like, it's so awesome. So I love to write about it because like, that's what I'm going to put in my book as just something like helpful and uplifting to show you, like, if I can get through this, you guys can get through anything, you know, like we're all going to have trials and tribulations. And I think it's just a matter of how you navigate it and putting Jesus at the forefront.
Yeah. And
For me, that's the only thing that keeps me sane.
Yeah. And that, like, praise and worship is so beautiful because, like, when you're having that in those sessions of just like gratitude and thanksgiving, like fear can't exist at the same time with it, which is like mind blowing to me.
Exactly.
And it's like having that heart of gratitude and thanksgiving. And like, that's why, like, you know, when I talk to some women that are struggling with anxiety, I say, start a gratitude journal. Like, it is very hard to be like really fearful when you start focusing on what you're grateful for and what the truth is. Exactly. So I love that worship music is like how you keep him your like focus and stuff.
I think that's what works for me and my personality. For you, it might be reading. For someone else, it might be praying. For me, it's music. And like, God will speak to me through music sometimes. Like a certain song will come on. There's this one song right now that I'm obsessed with. It's like my anthem.
What is it?
It's called I Made It by Kane.
Oh, yes. I know that one.
Oh my
God.
I blast it every day, all day. Because literally, if you listen to those lyrics, that is exactly what I walk through. God delivered me from all of that. And I'm just so thankful.
I just got goosebumps.
But it's so true, like how music touches me, right? And I think to everyone's different. But like, God made all of us different for a reason, right? So what lights me up may not light you up. But I think that's what's great, because then you can really start seeing your relationship with Jesus and how it's different. He has a relationship with everybody. If you just accept it, you know, and walk that path.
And I think too, like, there's no other response other than praise and worship when you see the enormity of your sin and how much we need grace and mercy and what God did. There's no other response than like, thank you, God. Like,
I'm not worthy.
Take my life. And he knows we're not worthy. That's why he came. Like, right. Exactly. So that's beautiful.
It's so true. Anyway, so I also wanted to just quickly ask I think you said you mentioned you've spoken at some churches with women. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, are you actively sharing your story? Like,
not as much as I probably should be.
Well, you're doing it today. That's
yes. Today I am, but you know, I feel like there's been different opportunities with moms groups that I've spoken to. You know, they use my story as part of a sermon series. So different. I think, like, in all transparency, even though I had this amazing thing happen to me, I was still nervous and vulnerable to share that. It's hard to share, like, hitting so low, you know, and then being like, look what Christ did. But at the end of the day, like, that's what we're here for. We're here for a blink, and then we're in heaven for all of eternity. So it doesn't matter at all what people think of me or my story. I have to get over myself and say, Lord, I am living for you. And that means sharing what you've done for my life. So,
Did you find, for me anyways, I felt like there's a different, like, for me, I always felt like talking about Jesus made people think, oh, she's a crazy Christian. And then I always struggled with being overly outward about my faith. Not because I didn't believe it. I just didn't want to be like chastised or made fun of, or like always talking about your faith, and people look like, you know, they think you're kind of crazy. And I feel like something shifted in me a few years ago where I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm speaking my truth no matter what. Like, did you ever struggle with that? Like, who do I talk to about this? Or did you feel weird about really talking about your faith like that?
I think, you know, it's funny. My mom being a youth minister, I used to talk about my faith all the time as a teenager. Like, I'd go on retreats with her, like, and this was before, like, I had any, like, real trouble and tribulations and, like, you know, but I think, I just remember too, not only am I just so grateful for what God has done, but I'm grateful for the people that did speak to me during that time when I was really struggling and I was able to relate to them. And so I think it's important for me to kind of share, because I don't want people that are struggling with anxiety, having panic attacks, feeling like they're the only one and they're on this island by themselves. So, you know, I've had women call me in the middle of a panic attack saying, can you help me? And I know what I've been there. I've been there at 3 a.m. being like, what is going on? So I think it's just like getting over myself, humbling myself.
Fears and limiting beliefs.
And be like, God, I'm praying, God, use me. Like, bring me the opportunities where you want me to share what you've done, and help me have a willing heart. And do I get afraid and scared sometimes? Yes. But I'm like, God, I'm just going to trust you. Yeah. And I think, I think there's different ways. I don't think most of my photography clients, I mean, maybe they know I'm a Christian, but they don't know my testimony, my story. Right. But I think it's all really in the way we treat people. Yes. These actions definitely speak louder than words. And
you can show Jesus without actually having to say anything.
I always say to my kids, I say at school today, show the love and light of Christ. Yes. Absolutely. And I know, it's not every person I meet. I'm not like, you gotta listen to what God did for me. Right. It was crazy. But, I think it's just God just brings subtly these little spaces and conversations. And while sometimes, yes, it is going on a podcast or it's sharing in front of church, there are these daily interactions where we can show the love of Christ and share about him without like shoving it down everyone's.
Exactly. Because we're not preachers. Like I will never be a preacher. I'm not a biblical scholar. I mess things up all the time. I'm still obviously, I grew up reading the Bible, but now I'm reading it front to back, Yeah. So, but I'm not an expert. But at the same time, we have such great testimonies that we can share as like average everyday people. Yeah. We're not pastors. We're not, whatever.
Well, I think you and I can reach different people than a pastor, somebody who's super vocal about their faith and quoting scriptures and all this stuff. I think that's great. And there's a place for that. People, yeah. But I think different people with different personalities are going to be reached in other ways. Yep. And I think we have to be willing to look crazy for our faith and sometimes be a little bit more bold and kind of step out of our comfort zone. And maybe sometimes it is kind of bringing up Jesus when we're like, well, I just want them to notice my cross and not say anything. You know what I mean? But like, I was just reminded in the car right here, like Noah was talking about building an ark. People thought he was nuts in the middle.
Hundreds of years, I believe, or however long.
He didn't care. He did not care. I know. And no one was saying he was crazy when it started to rain. So
exactly. That's how I
it's like the Bible's full of people that people thought they were crazy for their faith. And if I'm like, if I can be, like one of them, even a little bit more. Yeah,
that's 100%. Yeah.
Yep.
It's beautiful. So now what is on your horizon now? So we talked about obviously photography and your second act and getting into that. I know, what are you up to now? I think you said you're doing some coaching.
Yeah. So
how did that come about?
Yeah, not something that I, again, would have ever planned for myself. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about
I
that.
still like laugh about it because I'm like, this is, it's never something I would have imagined for myself. But it was like 2 years ago, I felt again, like there was like this stirring. Yeah. No, it was more than 2 years ago, actually. But I just felt like God was just saying like, there was something more, something next. And I just didn't know, like, am I stepping away from photography completely? Like, and I didn't feel like that was it, but I just didn't know what was next. Right. And so for 2 years, I was just praying, like, I'm kind of like, what do you have for me? Right. And so I was kind of doing coaching. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know that that's really what it was. And I hadn't gone through like the board certification process and all that, which I have now. Mm-hmm. But I was coaching through my photography, like moms that were first time moms, moms that were struggling with anxiety, just women at the church that were struggling with anxiety. And I had talked to one of my mentors at our church. It was like it's such a God thing. It's so crazy. It's so funny. He goes, we were texting and he was like, we should get together for coffee. I want to just catch up, see how you're doing, whatnot. I think in that text message, she's like, have you ever considered coaching? And I was like, what is that? Like, I didn't even know what it was. So, it's so crazy to think about. I said, no, but let's set up some time to like meet next week. So the next day, the next day I had coffee set up with a mom from the school that I didn't really know well. But I felt like I was just putting on my heart to reach out to her. So I'm sitting with her the next morning. We're having coffee at this coffee shop I'd never been to before. And I'm sitting there and in walks my mentor. And he's like, are you kidding me? He's like, do you come here? I'm like, I've never come here before. And he's like, who is that girl? And I'm like, literally, God just put on my heart to like meet with her. And he's like, we're talking about coaching. So I was like, okay. He's like, what are the chances? And it was like stuff like that kept happening that I was just like, okay, Lord, again, like, is this what you have for me? I'm going to take this step forward. Right. Make it clear if this is not what you have, but planned. So my mentor, now colleague, Bob, kind of encouraged me. He's like, look into coaching, pray about it. But you're already kind of doing that. So I went through the whole, board certification process, and I learned a lot, different tools and whatnot. And so Bob and I launched 210 Coaching at the beginning of this year, together, which has been awesome. 100% God. Like,
is it primarily for people dealing with anxiety, or is
no,
it anything?
So we have like a bunch of different areas. And Bob and I, he's got grandkids and has a totally different life experience than I do. But there's something awesome about it because because the clients that come, they have different needs and different experiences.
Yes.
So, so to answer your question, long way of saying it. I don't know what's next. I'm excited to see what God's going to do. I'm excited to see how he's going to use my photography and how he's going to use this coaching. But I'm like, whatever you have, like, this is so much better and more fun than what I had planned. So we'll see.
You're so much happier too, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I can see it in your face.
Yeah.
You're like glowing. It's awesome. You are.
It's
awesome.
that peace and joy of knowing that you're walking in your calling and with God. It's just like it's hard to put into words, you know?
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming and
Thanks
sharing
for having
your story.
me.
It's great to have two women of God sharing their stories. And like, I learned so much from you. And I'm like, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh God, maybe I don't know enough about the Bible.
No. See, don't let that. That's
exactly it. I'm like, I can't go there. But that's how my mind would work.
Yep.
I'm like, nope, I'm not going to let it go there. Like, I trust in you, Jesus. And that's it.
Yep.
So, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you next time, and God bless. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to subscribe to Second Act Sessions on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and start your own inspiring second act today.